The following is brought to you by Fair Dinkum Coffee Company.
You're listening to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast.
What smells so bad?
It's strong, but you'll get used to it. Now here's your hosts, Nick Stevenson and
buddy.
Chris Clark.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whatever time of day it is, wherever you may be listening in the world. Welcome to episode 34 of the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. As always, my name's Nick Stevenson, and I am your gracious and humble host. As you can see, Christopher Clark is not here. He is in the latter stages of his quarantine. Chris, get back soon. We love you. We miss you. In the meantime, I brought somebody on who is much more pleasurable to look at. It is my beautiful wife, Whitney Stevenson. How are you doing, dear?
I'm good, thank you.
I like your t-shirt. It's very
Thank you.
stylish.
It's got
You
a
want to
bit-
show the people the back?
Yeah, let's see.
Can you?
Are they getting it?
I think so. Tell them what the back says.
Why don't you read it for me?
You don't remember what it says?
No, I know what it says. I just like when you say it.
Nick's number one fan.
Not that part.
What?
The slogan.
Right. Turn, here we go. It says Nick's number one fan. Yeah, buddy. Alrighty. So, I'm glad that you decided to join me today because obviously there's been a lot of, let's see, it's hard to plan things in life sometimes when the universe just has its own plans for you. So, I've told you 1,000 times, I'm trying to stay hype about the show, but I'm really just trying to get to the finish line so we can hit that reset button. So, me and you talked about doing a show. This is the first time you've been here since episode 6.
All in the family.
This is 34.
I haven't been invited back.
That's not even really true, though.
That is really true.
The studio is literally in your house.
I know.
Like, you could come in here whenever you want to. As a matter of fact, I used to lock the door, and you told me to stop that shit.
I know, that pissed me off. Don't lock the door.
It's all I have to say is that dog wouldn't have got in here if the door was closed and locked.
Okay, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
That's all I have to say.
Thanks for inviting me.
So, yes, I'm glad that you're here. Tell me, first of all, before we get started on this particular episode, grade yourself on episode 6. How did you feel that episode went? How often have you listened to it since?
I think I listened to it twice.
Uh-huh.
But it has been a long time. It's been a long time.
I've listened to it multiple times.
You get mad all over again when you listen to it?
I don't really get mad. I just think about stuff I should have said. Like, ooh, I should have said that. That would have been good.
Yeah, I don't get mad again. It's like,
Were you mad? I was never mad.
no, mad's not the right word. It's like I get, I want to prove my point all over again.
Yeah, you and Haley didn't do a great job either. If you listen back, there's some
that's
contradictory.
subjective.
There's some contradictory statements
That's
there.
subjective. I got a lot of text messages afterward that's like Team Whitney and
Okay,
like,
so
you made more sense than Nick and like
I'll tell you the one part that like threw me for a loop. So in that episode, and if anybody goes back and listen, we had myself, Chris, Whitney, and her sister, Chris's wife, Haley, were on the show, and we talked about the last thing we argued about. And
what was it?
me and you.
Oh yeah, I remember the couch. I remember we were on the couch arguing about the kids and the dinner table. I remember.
Right, but that wasn't part of the show. But yeah, anyway, we were talking about our last arguments, and ours was much more exciting than Chris and Haley's was. But I remember one of the things I was talking to you about was that we had gotten into it over you like correcting me in front of the kids or like
Right.
cutting my legs from under me. And Haley came to your defense with the justification of, well, I do that to Chris all the time.
Listen,
Like,
I don't know if
oh,
you know this about us
in
or
that
not,
case-
but like
in
our
that
justification for all of life is that both of us do it, so it's right.
Okay. I was like, oh, well, in that case. Anyway, so yeah, actually, that's probably one of the shows. I get an emotional reaction from it, but I'm not mad. I just think about cool stuff that I should have said. But so if you graded yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give yourself in your first podcast experience?
I mean, I feel like we did a pretty good job. A 7?
You give yourself a 7 or like the group a 7?
The
like
show,
the episode?
like the episode of 7.
Oh, that's like one of the more listened to episodes that there are.
So you think it gets a 10?
I think all our shows get a 10, except for episode 10. That one sucked. But
Was that the political one?
yeah, we talked about like
That was
impeachment and
bad.
shit. Yeah.
That was bad.
It was good at the end,
I
though.
couldn't even
If
listen
people
to the
hung
whole
around
thing.
that long.
No, nobody hung around that long. Couldn't even listen to the whole thing. I tried to fast forward multiple times to like get to the good, and there was just
Okay.
Okay, anyway.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes we
happens. You
we
win
left
some, you
our
lose some.
lane and we learned like you got to stay in your lane.
It's true.
So that's
Okay.
good. But here we are at episode 34. That's kind of weird to say. I remember.
That's how old I am, right?
Yes. Okay. On episode 34, you just no, you're not 34.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No.
Yes, I am.
What does that have to do with anything?
Just because it's like that's my
See,
episode.
this is why you don't come on the show. You like threw me completely off.
You don't even know how old I am.
I don't even know how old I am half the time. I stopped counting at like, I don't know, 30. Once it was 30, it was all downhill from there. Anyway, you've been a part of this journey even when you're not on the show. Like, you know the good, the bad, and the ugly. Me doing this probably gets on your nerves sometimes. But I hope that you're proud of me, proud of Chris, and like proud of us sticking with it.
Absolutely.
Like 34 episodes, that's a big deal to me.
That's a huge deal.
It's a huge deal. It's going to be a year next November 24th. It'll be a year.
It's
since
like
we
it seems
started.
like a long time, but a short time at the same time.
Yes, it does.
If that
It
makes
really
any
does.
sense. Yeah.
But I'm at this point where like 2020. Then the show. What's weird about it is the show is kind of going to document how 2020 has gone, and I don't know if I had to have a theme for this particular season. It's just like expect the unexpected. There's no really a plan. Like this was the season of freestyle and just figure it out.
Okay.
Which I used to not be that great at. I feel like I've gotten better, and I feel like you helped me in a lot of ways of just learning to be flexible and go with the flow. When I met you, I was a very, I don't know, when I didn't like when stuff didn't go the way I planned it to go. when
That's
I first met you.
interesting that you think that I'm flexible and go with the flow.
Let me, I don't, that's not what I think about
Okay,
you at
because
all.
I don't think that at all.
That's not what I think about you. Let me, and I can do this too. Sometimes you are good at giving advice because you know the right thing to do. That doesn't mean necessarily you always do it.
Okay.
And I'm the same way.
Right.
Like I know what to do in a lot of situations, but I don't always do it because there were situations going on in our lives when we first got together that I was really calm and collected about. And then there was other things that I was not. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that I know that when I was at my worst, you would be the person to come and say, hey, like, let's pull this together. We can do this. Even though I don't know if that's how you were actually feeling, but you just knew like, this is what I should say to him.
Well, that's what you needed.
Right. Exactly. And that's what relationships are about. I'm not saying that you were faking it, but
Right.
you knew what was needed in that moment. And then a lot of stuff we just figured out together. So this particular episode, I thought maybe I would just hear your assessment on what our time together has been like. So we've been together since 2015 and we've been married for 3 years. It'll be 4 years next May. And it's been going really well. And I feel like we are not one of those Facebook fake couples. People probably thought we were when we first got together because I used to dote on you a lot
I know what happened to
over
that.
social media.
You don't like me that much anymore.
That's not even what it is. Like, nah,
My
See,
shine wore off. I'm not.
no,
anymore.
that's not even what it is.
I gained 30
feel like
pounds.
I am a different person now. Like, I do social media because I have to, but like, I don't know. Is that something you wish I would do more? Like, every now
No,
and again.
not like I don't consciously think like,
Every now
oh
and
wow,
again,
I
I'll
wish
give you the shout.
I wish Nick would like love me on Facebook. That's not like a thought of
Right.
mine. But like I'll see like Facebook memories and it'll remind me of certain things or times in our life or relationship or whatever that I'll think, oh, he doesn't do that very often.
So when I
anymore.
did that at the time though, like how did that make you feel? Like what did you think? Did you think it was corny?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. My love language is like words of affirmation.
That is true.
Whether it's like publicly or privately, as long as I'm being loved in my love language, like I don't, it's not necessary that the world sees it.
Okay. So do you feel like outside of the world of social media, do I speak your love language to you enough on a regular basis?
Yeah. I mean, I give you a passing grade. I mean, I'm being honest.
That sounded like a ringing endorsement to me.
No, I mean, I know that you love me. Sometimes you love me in your love language.
Because that's the fun love language.
Well, that's not what I mean.
What?
That's not specific.
Okay, so.
But I mean, yes, you do. You know what I need when I need it.
Right, and here's the challenge, just like we talked about earlier. Knowing when I'm at a point right now where I feel like when I need to gas you up, I don't want to be doing just gassing you up with words. Like I want you to understand that I mean what I'm saying to you.
Yes.
Because it can't be fake. If I was just like, "Oh, Whitney, you're the best,"
no,
like cheerleading dances when you come home like that, I try to make sure that like we have real moments when I tell you like you are the engine that runs this family.
No,
like you are the pulse. Like everything goes with you. Like you make everything happen. And I mean that. But if I'm being honest, I obviously love you more now than I did then. But I don't know why I don't do that. I do every now and again. It's just, I don't know.
Life. I
guess. To me, that shit like seems really corny now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like age,
because even
maturity, like
if
the
I could
place we are in our relationship.
Right. And I mean, I was old when I was doing it before, but I think the tone of social media also can gauge that. I don't know. Because I think it's assumed that most things you see on social media now are fake. And so I wouldn't want to do that and have it be assumed by anyone that that's fake. Because people will probably look at that stuff and be like, "Oh my God, what did he do? He probably did something."
Oh yeah, I don't really care about all that. But you have like a whole bunch of people on your Facebook that you don't know. Like
that is true. That's another reason I don't talk about our family a whole lot on social media anymore. Because ever since we started the podcast, I've added a lot of strangers. And like I'm real careful about posting pics of the kids. And somebody almost got their ass kicked on when I posted a picture of you not that long ago. And yeah, it was a miscommunication, Mr. Clover James, but yeah, like I wasn't having that shit. So I try to keep our personal life out of it. I try to be raw in myself and who I am, but I try to keep the family part out of it. Because I'm not saying like I'm famous or a big deal or anything, but there's a lot of strange people. So
it's true.
Anyway, so we've been together. I'm just bad at math. 2015, 2020, it's 5 years, almost 6. Okay. And we've been through a lot of stuff in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit back and reflect on things, like what do you feel like some of our biggest challenges in the course of our relationship have been?
So challenges is going to be like outside influences
or inside.
No, I mean that is one of the biggest challenges is outside influences.
Yeah. Especially early on.
Yeah, early on. Oh yeah, definitely early on. Even not so long ago. I mean, I feel like things have been smooth with our exes and co-parenting type situation for not even that long. I mean, with Maddie's mom, longer than with Logan and Hannah's dad, probably.
Yeah.
But
we're damn near. You ever see that movie Stepmom? Like we're almost on that shit now.
We are. I'm pretty proud of us. Chelsea and I talk about that a lot, actually. Like, to come from where we came from, like.
Yeah. That's true. And that's honestly something that we could probably get into that a little bit later. That's something I have to battle. But yeah, outside influences, especially early on. I want to ask you, because I've touched on this on the show a little bit. Like, obviously there was some controversy about us being together because you used to work with my daughter's mother, who at one point was my wife. We got divorced. We tried getting back together, and that's around the time that she met you because y'all worked together. So obviously there's a lot of controversy when your guys' friendship stops working out. Obviously our relationship stopped working out. And now you just know me as Maddie's dad and Chelsea's ex. So I've never had this conversation with you. Like, what was the conversation like when you went back and told your family, like, hey, I'm talking to Nick Stevenson. Who's that? You know, Maddie's dad. What? Because I know there had to be some shit talking.
It wasn't Maddie's dad. It was Chelsea's Nick.
Oh, yeah.
That was the question.
Which is weird because I never met them. Like, how did they know me as?
I don't know. Probably because of Chelsea. I mean, she was around.
So she was talking shit? That's what you're telling me?
Maybe. I mean, she was around the family a lot, and like, I mean, I just think that they just knew who you were.
Okay. If I was them, I would think Maddie's dad, but that's the reputation I like to have. But anyway, so I mean, there had to be some questions like.
Let me think. That was a long time ago.
You don't have to protect them. Like, we're all good
them
now.
Who? Oh, my family?
Your family.
No. I mean, I was pretty much a train wreck right around that time anyway. So I think that they all just thought it was like a fling and going to pass like everything else at that point of my life. And I remember sitting down at lunch one day with my dad. He came up to the office and there was like this little taco shop right next door to the office in the same like strip center. Right. And we went over there and had lunch together. Excuse me. And he said, how did he say it? I hope you know what you're doing. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, he's around your kids. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, it just seems like, basically he was telling me it seems so much like what him and my mom went through with my step-parents.
Right.
And he was like, basically telling me like history repeated itself and think about how hard that was on you, on me, how hard it was on me.
Now, most people listening don't know what you're talking about, but
I can
synopsis.
I can explain really quickly. Yeah. So my mom and my dad were married to each other, and they had a friend couple, and then my mom and my dad divorced, and their friend couple also divorced, and they remarried the opposite person's ex. It sounds really complicated, but basically my stepmom and my stepdad used to be married to each other. My mom and my dad used to be married to each other.
Right.
And they switched.
Right. Gotcha. That's nothing like what happened to us, but I can see the comparison.
Yeah.
That they were like,
that they were
I guess that's the closest comparison
that
they could make to anything.
Right.
Understandable.
It was basically telling me not to screw my kids up like they screwed me up.
Right. Gotcha. So, but that was the extent of it?
Yeah, I remember the day of Hannah's...
Nobody was like, don't do it. No, she's not ready.
Nobody knew that you were going to be hanging around. Like,
so they thought you were just hitting it and quitting it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you had that kind of reputation? Is that what it was?
So whenever you were at...
You're just going to breeze right by that one.
Right by that one. Whenever you were at Hannah's birthday party, her third birthday party.
Yes, I do remember this.
And you brought Maddie up there. And at the time it was like... So that would have been in March. It was literally like a week after, I don't even know that we were like technically official by then or whatever, but whatever. Anyway, I think we were going to Haley's after Hannah's birthday party. And I remember asking if I could bring you. And we were outside of that little place where Hannah's party was. I don't remember what her response was. Maybe she'll remember. I'm sure there was lots of whispering while I wasn't around.
Right.
But I don't think nobody really ever said anything to me.
Face. Okay.
I mean, I had to explain why Chelsea and I weren't friends anymore.
Right.
And that, you weren't the evil person that she created you to be.
Man, if we could be a fly on the wall, find out what they were saying.
I'm telling you.
But no, I understood that. I think you and I had the conversation, like, when we decided we were going to be a thing. Like, we knew, like, okay, this is not a normal, typical situation. Like, there's probably some shit sandwiches we're gonna have to eat. Like, we're gonna have to deal with the skepticism and people not liking it or whatever. And
We did.
at least on my end, when it comes to your family, like, they always showed me love from the beginning. Like, nobody ever gave me a negative vibe. Nobody ever
Well, you proved yourself.
side-eyed me.
Yeah, I mean, you're authentic.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's hard to trust somebody, especially a guy who walks in and he's talkative and he looks you in the eye. Like, sometimes I come across as a salesman, like I'm trying to oversell myself, but I was just being me, but they didn't know that. That's probably one of my biggest regrets. Like, when your father passed, I'm pretty sure at that point he was still under the impression like this was just a phase.
Yeah, he didn't know you were hanging around.
By the time he left, because I never really even had a conversation with him. I think one time me and him got stuck on the porch. You and I had gone over there, and actually I think his wife at the time was there too. But you went to get something out of the car, and like that was the first time I'd been even like sitting with just him. And we talked for like 15 seconds about how you were a go-getter and you got shit done. And that was the end of it. Like, I never really had a conversation with him. But I don't know. I like to feel like I've told the story of when he passed and I was sitting in the hospital room by myself with him. I don't know. I like to feel like, at least in my mind and in my heart, like on some spiritual level, like he understands now what we became. And maybe not gave me his approval then while he was here, but hopefully have his approval now. So, man, that was a really weird time. It was a really weird time because the controversy we were going through, and I'll try to keep it about me and you and not drag everyone else into it, but we were getting some backlash from the exes. I was attempting to get custody of Maddie and going through some personal things with not just that, also some personal things between myself and my family, you being freshly divorced pretty much and having to adjust to the single mom life and kids. Like, the fact that we tried to start a relationship, like if we look back at it now, like that was the worst time to
Seriously.
possibly even try doing this. It was the worst time to try to cultivate a relationship. And I think what helped is I remember very, very, very early on, where like, first of all, when you and I first got together, even we didn't think it was going to be a thing. Like, it was supposed to just be a fling, right? And I think I decided very quickly that I don't think that's what I wanted us to be. And when we finally had that talk, like, all right, if we're going to do this, like, this is the last time, like, not doing this again. This has to work, especially because of the kids who were involved, because of everything that was at stake. And I think that conversation of us saying, hey, we need to be honest with each other and keep it that way. I think that was really key.
Yeah, me too.
Like, to just get it all out there, put it on the table, find out what the deal breakers are, if there are any, and keep it that way. And
Just being completely transparent with each other from jump. Like,
yeah,
even as uncomfortable and icky as it made me feel at times, that was the only part of my life that was like that.
yeah,
Everything else was a show at that time.
yeah. And when you're dating in a normal everyday dating scenario, and single people can probably relate to this, like, when most of the time when you're dating, you're being fake. It's like going on a job interview. You're telling this person everything that's good about you. You're putting makeup on your flaws. And, you know, when you have conversations about what went wrong in your past relationships, it's always about something the other person did. When we had those conversations, we talked about us, like what we did wrong and what we could have done better. Like, it was never, I mean, obviously we had conversations about our exes because that's normal, but that wasn't the only part of the conversation we had. We had some of the more difficult conversations and honesty. So, and you rode with me through some difficult stuff. So once we decided we were going to be a thing, I don't know if you remember. I think the average person would probably say we moved quickly.
Yeah, I think so.
Like once we were a thing, we were a thing.
You know
And-
how Sarah and Travis are?
Yeah.
That's how they like. It reminds me of us.
You know, honestly, I don't know a whole lot about Sarah and Travis's backstory, but
I don't know their backstory, but like as quickly as they were just like clicking and
yeah.
falling in love and mushy gushy all over each other and getting married. And
It's
like,
it's very reminiscent. I agree with you 100%. And I feel like Sarah was putting out the right vibe to find the right kind of guy, which I know you say you were a train wreck at the time, but I didn't see you as that. Now, when we started having some deep conversations and honest conversations, like I realized that you were human, just like anybody else. But I didn't see you as a train wreck. I've told the story about when I came to pick up Maddie's Valentine's Day bag from your house. I don't know if you remember that night. Okay. And I saw you that night in a way I'd never seen you before, like almost in this somber mood. Like normally you would have on the, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, I'm a person who's put together, you know, doing mom stuff. Here's Maddie's bag. Like, you just had this, I don't know how to explain it. Something that told me, like, hey, I should just ask her how she's doing. Like, do you remember what you were feeling at that time?
yeah, I was like not in a good space. I remember like I was probably like sweatpants and a tank top and
Right.
you know, a couple of glasses of wine in on the couch with a blanket watching DVR by myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was Valentine's Day or like a couple of days before or something like
I
that.
think it was actually Valentine's Day, if I'm not mistaken.
But yeah, I was just not in a good place. Mine and
Do you remember why?
my ex-husband's anniversary was a few days before Valentine's Day. And so that was on my mind. And I was just thinking of the life that I didn't live anymore. And sometimes at that time of my life, I missed what was comfortable to me. And the contentment that I felt at that time because I felt so discontent at that time.
Yeah. There's a lot of societal pressure to when you're the age that you were, like you're not supposed to be single living in your own apartment by yourself. You know, you're supposed to live in a house and have a career. And
Right.
That's the societal pressure that we all put on ourselves and on each other. So I felt like maybe that was part of what was getting to you also. And then anybody who's been through a divorce, you know, like even if you know that's what's best for you, it's still a very somber thing because you realize, number one, I invested so much time, so much of my life into this, and you feel like you failed. Like you set you obviously got married believing you were going to be with that person forever. And so when it doesn't happen, then you feel like, man, I'm a failure. And on top of, like I said, all the pressure that's put upon us as adults to like live this timeline that if you're this age, you're supposed to be doing this.
Right.
That can be difficult for sure. But I knew something was up. And that was the first time that I kind of got the idea that like, you say you were in a bad space. Like I felt like we were kind of in the same space because I was out doing stuff that, first of all, I told myself I was never going to do again. When Madeline's mom and I got back together, I was like, I'm done with the running around and like I have a daughter. I need to set an example for her of how she should expect men to treat her. And once me and her mom didn't work out, now I was back doing the same shit I was doing when I was 25 and I didn't like it. Sorry. I should have brought water up here. Sorry, people. What is that?
Tea?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Maybe later. Be careful. Anyways, what was I saying? So I kind of got the idea then we were in the same space. And what's weird is that at that time, we had been kind of friendly with one another via telephone, text message. But I've told this story before. Like, we kind of felt like, there were these unwritten rules. Like, we can't be friends with each other because of this and that. And then, like, at some point, we just had to smash that with a sledgehammer. Because had we followed those unwritten rules, we wouldn't have what we have right now, which is I'd be missing out on the best thing that's ever happened to me.
This is true.
So, I want to think, was there ever a point, because it got hard, and I want your honest truth. Was there ever a point where you thought to yourself, like, man, this is really hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah, I thought this is getting hard. I never think of quitting.
Yeah. Okay. Me either.
I was going to say, did you?
No. I was worried that, because a lot of the stuff we were dealing with at that time had to do with me and problems between my ex and me. And then we went through the whole custody battle thing. Like that was very difficult. The only thing that ever made me like question, like, is this gonna work, is when you thought you might not have passed that drug test because you took Logan's medicine.
Oh.
Because I don't know, you said you were tired one day. I think everybody's done it. You've found somebody's pill that you felt like would wake you up. You take it. Like, that was the only thing that I was like, I don't know how we survived that.
I don't know how we did either.
I'm saying if it had gone another way, I couldn't see a pathway to us surviving that at the time. I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I can't even take myself back to that headspace.
It was a very, it was a very conflicted moment because, I mean, you had been with me through all of that.
Yeah.
Everything right there by my side. And like, we were on the verge of making our goal of putting this family together the way we always wanted to. And I remember they say, all right, you guys need to take a drug test. And I'm like, cool, we got this. Me and Whitney been we've been walking the straight line, the straight and narrow, like we're good. And then, like I said, that's why, man, I'm so careful about stuff like that now. Cause I used to do that all the time. If I had an all-nighter, sometimes Stephanie would like, hey, she took Adderall. Like, here, take this. That way you can stay up for work today. Like, there's a buddy of mine at work. He did that because he was working so many hours. Like, he was just, he was dragging in the mud. And he took one pill and the next day got drug tested, or like 2 days later got drug tested. And fortunately, they fired him, but they brought him back. But you don't think, that's a little stuff like when you don't have anything important going on in your life or anything where somebody's making a decision for you that could affect the rest of your life, you don't think about doing little stuff like that. But when we walked out of the courtroom and you're like, I don't think I'm gonna pass a drug test. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna die.
Man.
I've never seen you more angry. Disappointed.
Yeah.
Like every negative emotion that you can possibly think of. I wasn't like, I'm not trying to be over dramatic. I didn't think I was going to die. I didn't think you were going to hurt me. But like, I thought that my life was about to fall apart again.
Yeah, it was, because it was a very, it's hard for me to explain what I was feeling. Like, I felt like we had made so much progress towards getting Maddie to come home with us. And I didn't want something just thoughtless and careless, like not really thinking, it's not like you were out trying to get high. Like you weren't doing cocaine or something like that. Like you were dragging ass one day, you took a pill that you thought might wake you up. And to think that everything that we had accomplished up to that point might all be for naught because of one little thing, like one careless thought or careless mistake. Like, even though I knew I loved you and like you'd been there through everything with me, I was like, and I guess what you took wasn't that big of a deal because they didn't even drug test you for it. Like, but just the thought of the possibility. Yeah. Like, I don't even remember what it was you took, but it wasn't something it's not like an amphetamine or anything, obviously. So, like, it didn't even pop up on a drug test, but I just thought everything we'd worked for, everything we were getting so close to having, like, if it was just all gone and back to square one, as much as I love you, as much as you've been there, like, how do we survive that?
Yeah.
How? And I was nervous, but somebody was looking out for us, I guess, because everything turned out to be fine. Yeah, that was a big challenge. That was the only time that I was like, man, like I was nervous about what would be my. I'm not saying I knew for sure, like if this goes bad, I'm leaving, because I couldn't see myself doing that.
Right.
But I was like, what would I be doing to myself? What would it say about me if I stayed? Like, do you have to pee?
No.
Oh, you were making that I have to pee.
No,
face.
I'm thirsty, and that tea is making me more thirsty.
Do you want to pause and go get a bottle of water?
No.
Okay. So yeah, that was a big challenge. And then I don't know if you so you made me live in an apartment when we moved to Deer Park for like, I don't know, how long was this?
It was like a waste of $750 for a year.
I don't even remember. I don't even think I was in there for a year. I was probably there 6 months.
So I moved to Deer Park in July.
Right. And I moved in with you in January, I think, or December. It was before Christmas.
Yeah, we had Christmas in that house together.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. Before you moved to Deer Park, I was in a transitional period in my life. I was renting a room from a good friend of mine, Stephanie, shout out. And then you wanted to move back to Deer Park. What was it that made you want to move back to Deer Park, first of all?
I didn't have anything left where I was, and my family was all over here.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't crazy about moving to Pearland when I moved there, but I moved with my ex-husband, and that was closer to his work at the time and everything like that. Then whenever we divorced, I had a very small area to stay in to be able to keep Logan in the same school that he was in.
Right.
And so I did that, and he was in second grade. Yeah, it was his second grade school year. And once that school year was over and it was almost to the end of my lease at the apartment, I was like, if I'm going to make a jump, it's the perfect time to do it, because if I'm going to switch in schools, it won't be in the middle of the school year. We can move over the summer. We can get settled in. And I wanted to be closer to my family.
Right. Okay. Those are all the reasons I thought, but I don't know if I ever like actually asked and had that conversation with you. So I was kind of a nomad at the time. And what's funny is, like, once we became a thing, I was pretty much at your place 24/7. I might have gone home like 4 times in the first like 2 months we were together.
Yeah.
And so I remember when you said, I'm moving to Deer Park. I want you to move to Deer Park too. My assumption is, I guess we're moving to Deer Park together. And then you're like,
oh,
so
no.
you should start looking for an apartment. And I'm like,
you're not moving in with me.
I'm like, okay, I've literally been at your house for like 2 months. But okay. Like, what was your thought process? Like, why? Because this was all you. Why did you, like, I already knew where I was with you and where I wanted to go. And I understood that it was fast, and I understood that it was on the outside looking in, it would look crazy. But like, I already knew I was in that space. So what was going on in your head where you're like, nah, I want you to move to Deer Park, but you're not living with me, even though I got the apartment and literally was at your house pretty much. How many times did I stay in that apartment?
I don't know. We stayed there sometimes.
Yeah, that was like our getaway spot.
Okay, so it wasn't that
that was
I had
the freak motel. Was my apartment.
It wasn't that I had any doubt in us that I wanted you to get an apartment. It was that I wanted to see that you could do it by yourself.
Right.
I wanted to see that, like, there was a time period that you were really down and not having faith in yourself and not feeling motivated. And I wanted to be able to give you a push and see if you could do it on your own.
Yeah. Make sure I wasn't mooching off you.
No. That's not it.
Kind of.
No, it's not. Like
yes,
you are
absolutely.
a man, and you have a job, and you have a kid, and you have a responsibility. Like
right.
You have to do you need to be able to see that you can do life by yourself.
Right.
Whether I'm there or not.
Right.
And
I agree with that 100%.
I remember you were like not a happy camper the day that you and Maddie went together and, like, I think found that apartment or went apartment hunting or whatever, and you were not. I don't know, you were mad at me or you were just not happy that day in general, whatever the case was.
I wasn't mad at you.
But you did it.
I did. And
it wasn't easy. Like you had. I don't
think at the time those are the reasons you gave. Like I don't think you gave me a reason for why you wanted. Maybe you did. I might have a terrible memory now, but I just remember in that space being like, because it was just confusing for me because I got that apartment, but then you never wanted me to go home. Like,
but you did it.
You never wanted me to go home, and like when I did go home, you weren't happy about it, but I couldn't live with you. Like, and then literally, what was it? I think it was like 3 to 6 months into it. You're like, yeah, why don't you just move in here? Because I was going home and you didn't want me to go home. And I was, we were a couple, like we were helping each other financially. And we were helping each other financially pay for 2 different rents. And
yeah.
It just didn't make any sense.
Right.
And to basically,
you'd be like, hey, go
have
buy
sex
me
with each other
$400 worth of groceries, and I'll throw you $400 for your rent in a few days. Like,
right. It wasn't making a lot of sense. We could have got a Motel 6 a whole lot cheaper. So.
Oh, those plastic sheets. But the bed there was so comfortable.
Yes, yeah, that was our bed for a long time. So I finally move in with you. Now I want to talk about how long had we been together. I mean, once we decided we were a thing, did you pretty much know, like, eventually you wanted to get married?
I knew eventually I wanted to get married when we moved in together.
Okay.
I knew that you were it for me from very early on.
Right.
But as far as like marriage, I didn't
know that you would get married again.
Yeah. For a while.
Right. Okay, because I remember when marriage started coming up, and I also, after my previous relationship, was like, yeah, I'm never getting married again, and I think a lot of people say that when they have bad experiences. But then, once you and I became a thing, and I'd say before we moved in together, like I knew that if everything went the way I was hoping it was going to go, that's where we would end up. But I remember specifically and when I say we, I mean you, like started talking about it.
Okay.
Started talking about it and like dropping hints and like, did you get the sense that I didn't want to get married?
No.
You just had this.
Why was I oblivious?
No, you just had like this whole attitude, like, what are we waiting for? Let's get this thing done. And for me, and I don't know if I ever spoke these words out loud to you. I know, and sometimes in my frustration, I would talk to Chris about it. I felt a lot of pressure to get married the first time I got married for a lot of reasons. Number one, the religion I was a part of. Like, if you had sex before you were married, that was a no-no. So, like, there was a lot of pressure. Basically, they thought the way that they believed is if you're dating, you should only be dating because you're planning on getting married. So there was a lot of pressure there. And then, to be honest with you, my ex-wife started pressuring me about marriage. Like, what are we doing? What are we waiting for? If we're not going to get married, we don't need to be dating type thing. And so I felt like, man, if I don't marry her, I might lose her. So we got married. And obviously that didn't work out. And I told myself the next time I get married, I'm going to do it on my terms. I'm going to ask when I'm ready to ask. And what's funny about that is I was probably getting really close to asking you. And like every time you bring it up, just because, I'd be like, okay, I'm not going to ask.
That's so rude.
Like, I was like, and I think we had the conversation one time. I was like, just stop bringing it up.
No,
like,
we had the conversation a lot of times.
Like, stop bringing it up. Like,
it was important.
But if you bring it up and you're like,
that is so petty.
No. If you bring it up and you're like, hey, when are we going to get married? And then I'm like, okay, will you marry me? How does that even feel good to you?
That's not a thing. Like, that's not how I thought. I knew that you wanted to marry me, and I knew that you were only being a pain in the ass about it to be a pain in the ass.
I wasn't being a pain in the ass. It was very important to me to do it on my own terms so that I would not feel like I did it because someone else. I wanted to do it because I was ready and because I wanted to do it. And I didn't want that stigma on there, whether it was just a mental thing or not. I did not want to feel like I didn't want to go into that decision feeling like I'm not the one who made it. Like it was made for me. And so that's why it was weird how it happened. I was just at work one day. I was at work and I was like, I think I'm gonna ask Whitney to marry me tomorrow. And so I text Chris. I'm like, hey man, you want to go ring shopping tomorrow? And he's like, what? I was like, yeah. And it was funny is I was trying to make all these like grand plans of how I was going to do it. And I remembered a conversation we had about not playing games. Like, you know how when you're first dating, you're like, oh, should I text this person? Like you're thinking about them and like, you don't want to.
I brought that up last week.
Yeah. You're like, oh, should I text them? Maybe I'm bothering them. And then we told ourselves, we had the conversation when we started dating, like, fuck that. I'm not doing that anymore. Like, if I'm thinking about you, I'm going to tell you I'm thinking about you. I'm going to text you. I'm going to ask how you're doing. Like, and I don't care. I'm not going to worry about coming across clingy or anything like that. So when I was trying to think of all these complicated ways and that I could ask you to marry me, I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to ask her.
I didn't know that you went through that whole like thought process. Like that's why you changed your plan.
What's why?
Like the whole like we're not going to play games thing. I didn't know that that's why you changed your plan.
Why'd you think I changed my plan?
I don't know. I just thought you were feeling it one morning.
How did you know I even had a plan?
Well, I didn't until afterward because then Maddie was like, that's not when you were supposed to do it.
Oh, yeah. God, I'm starting to have a terrible memory. I don't even remember what my original plan was, to be honest with you. But I just, because I had, okay, so we bought the ring and I brought it home. And so now I'm trying to hide it. And that was another thing. That's very stressful to try to hide a ring, especially with you in the house because like you go through everything.
That makes me sound like a psychopath. I don't go through everything.
It's because you clean meticulously.
That's a much better way of putting it. Not like I go through everything.
You go through everything. Like it was very stressful hiding it because I'm like, she's going to go clean out my closet and find it. Oh my
God, that closet. Do you remember that closet? You would open the closet and like all the stuff would fall out of it.
On Alice?
Yeah. At the end of the hallway.
Oh, yeah. So I'm trying to hide this ring, which is very stressful. And I had the ring at work with me because I didn't want you to find it while I was not at work. Like I was so nervous about that. And so I was like, I'm just going to go home, lay down in bed because I was working nights. I remember I came home, laid in the bed with you. I was like, I'm going to put it on her finger and ask her to marry me. That's how I did it. It's a pretty awesome day.
It was a pretty awesome day.
Pretty awesome day. I remember you went and told Logan. He started bawling.
He cried.
Yeah.
Little Logan.
Yeah. You got to watch the movie Baps.
Okay.
Because I'm going to give a reference that you're not going to understand. But one of the girls on Baps, she has a boyfriend. Like he always cries and gets emotional. And I was like, that's how Logan was. It's like when Hannah got bit by the spider. When Hannah got bit by the spider and he was up on the doorpost doing the she's gonna die. Oh man. So
did we ever figure out if that was a paper spider or an actual spider?
No, she got bit. I remember. Because this just really quick. I'm in the kitchen doing something. And I hear Hannah. And she's like, hey guys, there's a spider out here. And I was like, leave him alone. She's like, I'm gonna touch him. And I was like, Hannah, that's not a good idea. And she's like, why? And I was like, it's just not. And all of a sudden she's, ah! And Logan's freaking out. I called poison control. And they're like, can you even see it? It's like, there's like a little red dot. They're like, she's fine. So, I don't know. I never saw the spider, but she said it was a spider. So, anyway, let's talk about that really quick. How long we've been doing this for? About 50 minutes. Okay. The aspect of us having children. Like I said, the circumstances that we decided to try to cultivate a relationship under were pretty insane. But the other challenge was the kids.
Yeah, that was this.
Logan and Hannah weren't that hard. Let's face it, it was Maddie.
Then. They weren't that hard then.
I mean, they weren't that hard to, like, getting used to me being around. Like,
No, I don't feel like that.
there was no problems there.
Okay, so there's, like, in my opinion, two separate parts of our kids being challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like whenever we first got together, our kids being challenged, well, Maddie. And then there's the part,
Drama queen.
right, of the challenging part of parenting. I think just parenting in general, I don't want to say parenting someone else's kids because I don't think of it like that. I don't think.
It's very, for me.
I think it's like, it's my
Especially
need to be in control of everything.
Yes.
And that makes it difficult to parent with anybody. Like,
Right. No, I agree. It was difficult for me when it came to disciplining Logan. Because, number one, before I ever met you, before I ever had a child, I used to tell people all the time, like, I'm going to have girls. I can't have boys. Because I was afraid if I have a boy, I'm just going to be super hard on him and he's going to hate me. You know, I had a pretty contentious relationship with my father at times, and maybe that's why I felt that way. But I always knew, like, I'm going to have girls. I'm going to spoil them. Like, and I knew so Maddie had a cousin that was a boy that was born like a month before her. So he was like my practice. And I could tell immediately when I'd be watching the both of them, if Maddie was holding on to the side of the wall or something, like if Maddie fell, I'm like, oh, baby, are you okay? If Hayden fell, he'd be crying and I'd be looking at him like, man, get up. Like, and I already knew. I was like, oh.
so messed up.
Yeah, it is messed up. And I'm like, man, I'd be like, rub some dirt on it. Come on. And I knew. So I was very nervous about having a son ever. And so when you and I became a thing and it became apparent that I was going to be an influence in Logan's life, I was nervous. Especially because, like, he had some behavioral issues before I came around. And, like, I knew how I would raise my son and how I would discipline him. But it's very strange because, yes, I am a father figure in his life at that time, but I was not his father. And so I struggled a lot with how to handle certain situations with him. With Hannah, it was like having a little Maddie all over again. So
She was so little.
yeah, and she wasn't like, she's so good. She's still good. Like, let's face it, she's the one that listens the most, even still to this day. Like,
Yeah.
she's a sweetheart. And when I do get on her case, like I had to get on her today and I felt really bad about it. I'll probably end up buying her something and apologizing. Because like I was in here prepping for the show and she comes up screaming, ah! And then she's tapping my shoulder. I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, the dog peed on the carpet. And I'm like, why are you telling me? Like, what's your man got to do with me? I don't know why you're telling me this. And she's just and she's yelling at me, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, clean up the pee. And she's, you know how Anna is.
Oh, did she
she's
cry?
Like, yes.
Oh, Nick.
Oh my gosh, she was so emotional. Oh.
Because you yelled at her. She doesn't like it when you yell at her.
I wasn't
she's
yelling
triggered by
at
people
her.
raising their voices.
Yes, that's true. I wasn't yelling at her though. Like, and I was like, why'd you let the dog out? I never told you to let the dog out. And if you get let the dog out, you gotta watch the dog and blah. And she's just, I'm sorry, I just didn't know what to do.
Poor baby. I'm gonna have to go snuggle her.
But anyway, so she was easy. Logan was a challenge, and your ex-husband became very ever present in many ways that did not have anything to do with the children. So I was always trying not to reopen that can of worms either. So it was a challenge, but I think as with all things, like time went by. The people who were no longer a part of our lives moved on, and we all came to the decision like, okay, we may have our differences, but there's these children involved and we all love them. Like, let's do what's best for them. And I'm proud of us. I think we've done a good job of that. So the wedding was not as contentious of a point as the actual proposal. Although I do remember one of the reasons we planned our wedding like with a week or two to spare is because I want to say because yes, but like you were getting a little impatient about that too. Like we just wanted to get it done.
Okay.
Like we knew, like we were living together. We moved into a new house that we were renting, but like Maddie came to live with us. Like we were checking off all these things. You know, it's like, hey, let's get married. And I don't know. I knew I wanted to have a wedding. I think we both agreed like we're not gonna have a big thing. But if you remember, like we decided we didn't have a wedding date until like 2 weeks before we got married.
I remember. I planned a wedding in 2 weeks.
Yes, yes, you did. So, I don't think that like I said, that conversation was not that our proposal part was contentious, but that was easy for us to agree on. Like, hey, let's get this done. Mm-hmm. And so we did that, and I'm never gonna forget our wedding. I wish there was video of it.
Me too.
Like I thought somebody was taking video.
I did too.
I thought so. There were like video clips from somebody's phone.
Yeah.
It was either your mother's.
I think it was Josh's.
No, Josh was the DJ.
Oh.
I know. Normally that would be him with the Snapchat clip. Mm-hmm. But yeah. No, somebody took some video clips because I do remember seeing them. But I thought somebody was videoing the whole thing. But we had a beautiful wedding. I think it only cost us like $2,000. Right? Somewhere in that ballpark, or that was the plan, and it might have.
Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy.
A little bit more. The best thing about our wedding that I enjoyed was that the kids were involved, and that
it was just our people.
Yeah, that too. And we did vows for the kids as well as each other. I forgot my vows, and you told me 1,000 times to write them down, and I was like, no.
You don't ever be listening to me.
That does not make it real if you write it down. And yeah, I forgot. I mean, I said the important stuff. And we got it done. So, and then the next goal was buy a house.
We did that.
We did that too. Here we are. And, man, I'm trying to think of this timeline. There's just, I don't know. There was a lot of challenges, a lot of good times. If you can, I know it's difficult. Like, what would you say is if you were telling somebody the Nick and Whitney story in 5 seconds, 10 seconds?
I'm going to need more seconds.
Huh?
Can I have like 2 minutes? 120 seconds.
No, okay, in 30 seconds or less, tell the Nick and Whitney story.
2 broken people came together and unbroke each other and made the best life ever. I don't know.
That's good.
That's pretty.
Yeah. For me, 30 seconds or less, because I try to stay humble, but I do talk to people when they're having trouble with relationships, and I just tell them like the best thing you can possibly do for yourself and somebody else is just be honest. Like, keep it real. Tell your flaws. I try to do that in all aspects of my life. I know sometimes when I get on this microphone and tell the world stuff that you might not want me to tell them, but I just try to, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, like I try to be honest with you and be honest with everybody in my life, like to know, hey, here's the things that are good about me, but here's some of the stuff that sucks.
Well, I feel like you helped to teach me that a lot because as a child, when I was growing up, it was like the only thing that was accepted or praised is perfection. And so that made me grow into this person who always expected perfection from myself, which led me into being a person who was fake a lot of the time because nobody's perfect. And it wasn't until you and I got together and started going through the hard parts of our relationship and growing as people and growing as a couple that I feel like I really learned how to be honest with other people and myself. And started implementing that in more areas of my life than just our relationship. And in doing so, like, became very spiritually connected and realizing that good things come when you do good across the board. So that was definitely
I agree
something
with
that you taught me.
The stuff that we went through together, the hard stuff, that molded us. And we stopped sweating the small stuff. Because like once we went through what we went through, because there were times when we were going through the hard stuff, like we did not know how it was going to go. There was no light at the end of the tunnel that we could see. And somehow we made it through it. Some way, somehow. And I know for me, and I believe for you as well, that experience made it for when we go through tough times now, we're just not sweating it.
No.
We're like, it's going to work out.
It's gonna
Something's going to happen. Everything that's happening is happening because it's supposed to. And that even went to, we at one point we're talking about doing IVF and having a child together. And we got in a situation where we kind of forced that a little bit. And then the universe told us it's not time right now. And we were trying to buy a house. We were trying to force that a little bit. The universe said it's not time right now. And then eventually, when the time was right, it came and we did it. So that's, I don't know. I love you and I love our life, and I can't imagine if I would have went with that initial gut instinct of, oh, you can't date her. She used to work with your baby mama. Like, and that's what I tell people all the time. Like, there's all these unwritten rules, and I'm not saying go out there and smash them all to pieces, and that's how you're going to find happiness, but just don't sell yourself short. Like, trust your gut. Most people who make bad decisions, if they're honest with themselves, they're not trusting their gut. They're trusting something else. Like, either they're making emotional decisions or they're making decisions based on what their body's telling them to do. I trusted my gut, and it was a leap of faith for us both, because it could have gone bad. Could have gone bad. Could have gone really bad, but it didn't. And I'm very thankful. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for your support of me and this endeavor. I've talked a couple of times about how before I had something to do that kept me driven and that I was excited about, I was probably a little difficult to live with at that time. I can admit that. If I'm honest with you, what was going on at that time, and this is after you left the work environment where you had been working with my ex, but when you went to your next place and you were excited and I saw you making moves, I was afraid that I was standing still and you were moving and you were going to outgrow me, and then you'd have no use for me anymore. And I was really afraid of that. And so, unfortunately, the way that I dealt with that was just by being a big ass hater. Just being a big ass hater. I can't put it any other way. Like, if you come home excited about something happening, I'll just be like, yeah, okay. And I've told this story before. It's the same thing with Chris. Like, Chris be excited about some stupid shit he was going to do, make $1 billion. And I'd be like, I'm like, yeah, man, that's cool. Thinking to myself, this is the dumbest shit I've heard in my life. How the fuck are you going to sell soap for $8 a bar? Get the fuck out of here. But I don't know. I had to have a moment where I told myself, like, dude, you were just a cold-blooded hater, man. And
See, I think I was so lost in my, oh man, maybe I was so self-centered. I don't know. I didn't think you were being a hater. Like I was oblivious to that because I was so.
yes, I was being a cold-blooded hater.
That,
Like
I mean, it's good that you're honest. I wouldn't have ever described it that way.
well, the reason that, if you thought about it, because there were times I was difficult to live with. I was grumpy for what probably seemed like no reason. Excuse me. If you would have discussions with me about things you were excited about, like I wouldn't be like, oh my God, with you. Like,
Yeah.
I'd just be like, that's cool. But maybe you were content in your own, like maybe you didn't need me to be happy with you. But I just knew that what I was projecting was negative, and it was all because of me. Like I was afraid of you outgrowing me. I knew that I wasn't doing shit, and I needed something. You had something that was outside of us. I didn't have anything that was outside of us. So I was like, I need to get something that's outside of us. And it took a while, but out came the podcast. And I don't know, it's going to be a year. I appreciate you and your support and backing me. I found it very interesting. We were talking the other night. I've been dealing with some depression and some feeling down and haven't been myself. And I think anybody who pays close attention to how this show operates maybe could even notice that something was off. I found it very interesting that you said to me, because I asked you the question, what are things that are wrong? Because you said, don't put the pressure on us. Like, you can't think that if me and you are good, everything else will be good. And I was like, well, what's everything else? And you said to me, your lack of interest in your hobbies. And it didn't even hit me that I was like, I haven't even been in the studio in a week. Like, everything could have got stolen from up here. I wouldn't even have known. Like, I was like, I haven't even been up there in a week. And I was like, okay, man, I didn't even realize like that it was that noticeable, that I just wasn't feeling myself. And 2020's been hard. COVID, everything else has gone with it. Like it's been a draining time. And so one time I finished a recording though, and I went downstairs and you said, man, you always seem really happy after you record. And it's true. I really do enjoy this. And, I know I said earlier, I'm trying to hurry up and get to the finish line. Like, I don't want to mail it in. I want to put out good material. I want to put out quality material. And I hope that people will listen to this and hear the transparency of you and I and know that, like, this is a show, but we're not putting on a show. Like, yeah. I try to present us the way that we are. And I know that Chris does that as well.
Yeah, you guys do a good job at that.
I feel like, I hope that's as refreshing to other people as it would be for me if I turned on a podcast and it was two guys I didn't know and they were just telling their truth and just being themselves. So I hope it's equally as refreshing for everyone else. And that's the goal. Like that's what I want this thing to be. And, as we go into the next season and we put this team together, I'm going to really take the time to reassess everything and find out how I can keep that fire going through the entire season, even past all the controversy of, because I'm sure 2021 is going to bring its fair share as well. But there's nobody in the world I'd rather do it with than you, baby.
Oh, right back at you.
And I'm happy that you joined me. I'm happy that you're my wife. You haven't left yet.
Don't say
Knock
yet.
on fake wood. And we did the damn thing. We built the family that we talked about. Our crazy ass was talking about 3 months into knowing one another.
Yeah.
We did the damn thing.
We
did. And I couldn't do it without you. So I love you and I appreciate you very much.
I love you too.
Okay. You know what I've sucked at? We actually got some people to attach their names and their businesses to us. And I haven't gotten into a groove of really honoring our sponsors the way that I want to.
Okay.
But that being said, I will take the time to thank you guys very much. Stephen Terry of Stephen Terry Pest Elimination, thank you. And I want to thank Sarah Cooligan of urbansoapbar.com. Thank you very much. Kevin Provost of Money Management International & Co. Thank you very much, sir. And I would like to thank Banerjee Plastic Surgery.
Me too.
Banerjee Plastic Surgery. Are you still doing the incentives? Like they tell you, hey, I listen to Smells Like Millie's podcast. Has anybody told you yet?
I hooked a listener up last Saturday.
Did you?
I did.
Okay, cool.
I can't say who because that would be breaking HIPAA laws, but yeah. Took care of her.
Okay.
She's very happy.
So the Spirit Sniffers, go to BanerjeePlasticSurgery.com, or if you want to shout out the phone number.
281-971-9711.
Okay. If you tell them you listen to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast, you will get discounts on Botox injection.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Dysport or Dysport?
Dysport.
Okay. What is Dysport?
It's a neuromodulator. It does the same thing as Botox does, just a different brand.
Okay.
Like Pepsi and Coke.
Gotcha. Okay. What else?
All filler injectables.
Filler injectables.
And then $1,000 off any
$1,000
cosmetic surgery.
Off any cosmetic surgery. You do that better than I do. But thank you guys for doing that because it's a good business and a good doctor to be associated with. And we love the Banerjees. We love all the people, all the crew that work there as well. Am I forgetting anybody? Of course, Josh Beard, the reason we're here.
Gosh. How you forget Josh?
I forgot Josh.
Where is my Tumblr?
I forgot
Where
Josh.
is my
twice
Tumblr?
in 2 different episodes. You know, last episode, the opening was the following is brought to you by Josh Beard. Yeah, I made that because I totally forgot to shout him out at the end of the show.
Oh, wow.
I played his ad, though. It was nice and beautiful up here. It was beautiful. Josh Beard is the best realtor in the business. He's a realtor for Keller Williams. He is the reason that we live in this dream home of ours, and he can help you find your dream home or sell your home. And I mean, he doesn't stop working for you once he gets his check. Trust me. He was working for us.
Maybe he doesn't want people to know that he will show up and help you move or come to your Labor Day party or sit on the podcast and drink beer with you.
Yeah. When he tells you that you become family, he means it. Like, he's not just talking it. He means it. So, Josh Beard, thank you so much for your support of the show and for your sponsorship of the show. We love you very much. You're in the crew, and he might be one of our new producers when we put the new team together. Okay. How do you feel like your second round on the show went?
Well,
yeah, there was definitely less contention than episode 6.
Yeah.
What's the last thing we argued about? Just me being a grumpy ass.
You are a grumpy ass. I don't know.
The last thing we argued about is I was being grumpy my day when I had been up for like 24 hours straight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think I remember that day now.
I
think I would say I raised my voice at you and the children. And if that's the worst thing that I did that week, then I apologize.
Okay.
Was it not the worst thing I did that week?
It was, but that was very dismissive.
How was it dismissive? Now I was about to get interesting.
Oh.
I'm not.
If that was the worst thing I did,
I'm not dismissing it. I'm not dismissing it. I'm not dismissing it. I felt like, man, we'll have to talk about that off the microphone. I'm not dismissing it. You should never raise your voice at anyone ever. There's no excuses.
Okay.
Right? No?
You should never raise your voice out of anger to your wife and children. I wouldn't say that you should never raise your voice at anyone ever. That's a little extra.
Okay. Never raise your voice. What was the
out of anger?
Out of anger or sleepiness or grumpiness. Any of those directed at your wife and children. Especially when your wife can probably kick your ass.
And probably will.
Alrighty. Baby, thank you for doing this.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Thanks for having
Ladies
me.
and gentlemen, thank you all for listening. I believe Chris Clark will be back next week. In the meantime, for my special guest, my lovely wife, Whitney Stevenson, my name is Nick Stevenson, and I will see you all next time.
You've been listening to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast with Nick and Chris. For more show content, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.